What it is, what it do.
What's going on?
The crew. Hey, man, I missed you guys from last week, man.
I know it feels like we were gone for like a month or something.
Man, I felt all out of sorts, man, and I couldn't figure out what it was that was kind of off with me. And then I realized that, we didn't do our thing.
Yeah.
So I'm glad to have you guys, man, back with me. And of course, our prayers go out to who. We don't have to get all into that because it's personal, but we do want to acknowledge that there was a good reason for our week off, and we are sending special prayers to somebody in the NDTV family, and we hope that all works out just fine. Everybody doing all right?
Doing good.
Yes, sir. Can't complain.
Doing great.
Man, we
For
got
everybody wondering. For everybody
Go ahead.
wondering why we're all looking down, we're sharing the TV show to our all three of the regulars. We all in our phones, we're trying to get it out there to let people know that we're live, so we're putting it on our timelines and stuff.
Yeah.
Like that.
That noise in the background you hear is our producers going crazy because we're all looking down.
Right.
Yeah, and I was actually also trying to reach out to a vet that Jermaine and I were talking about before we went live to get her to come on and check him out in all his pinkness.
He wins best dress for the night, definitely. And I like that jacket, Jermaine. You look like you're about a 42 long, right? I'm just asking.
42 regular. 42 regular.
Dang. All right.
He's
Never
sitting
mind.
down. How can you tell?
Hey man, I have I've been exposed to him a little bit, and so I know he is never underdressed. Put it like that. I've come across him a time or two with some of the stuff that he's doing, and I don't think I've ever seen him without a jacket and a lid and color coordinated. He does his thing. So
I knew that brother Mel was going to be on here tonight, so I had to bring my best A game.
Man, bro, Jay. Usually, if you catch me in something else in another setting, it is. But since this is the cave, I try to relax a little bit. But I know those are your pajamas, bro. So you know what I'm saying?
Hey, it's right before bed,
Hey Mel, that's his 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. outfit.
There you go.
You dig? Hey, so let's get it going, man. Jermaine, you are the only newbie. So I'll ask you to introduce yourself first, man. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Keep it brief. This hour goes fast, and I know enough about you to know that you got a lot going on, and we could take up the whole hour with just that piece. So give us a little bit about you, man, how you came to be on the show, and then we'll move on to Ash.
Man, I may be the newbie to the show, but I'm excited to be a part of the Man Cave one tonight. I've been knowing Brother Mel for a number of years now.
My condolences on that.
We're sorry.
Hey.
Recently introduced to Brother Glenn, and I'm the founder and executive director for a male mentoring and leadership development organization called I Am a Gentleman. We serve young men here in the Chicagoland area, Atlanta, Georgia, Las Vegas, Nevada, Northwest Indiana, with life skills. And, we're excited about the work that we do. We serve these young men and we teach them, basic life skills that they can use beyond the classroom. So, things like respecting women, how to become your own boss, overcoming obstacles, anger management. And it's just an amazing work that we're called to do, and excited to be a part of the cave one tonight.
Can you get Shawn in some of those anger management classes? Are they available?
Hey, it's never too late to become a part.
Never too late. Yeah, I could probably use them. Ash, good to see you, man. Tell us what's going on with you, man, and for the people that are watching that didn't catch you on the episode that you were on, tell the good people a little bit about yourself, man.
Yeah, well, right now you guys are live from the cave. I'm live from my niece's bedroom in Northern Virginia right now.
That's a good.
I'm here with my sister's family. We're celebrating Diwali, Indian New Year today. It's a 5-year celebration. Today's day 2, I think. So out here for a couple of weeks for Diwali and for Thanksgiving. So out here, my nieces may bust in here. If they do, let it be. So for me, I was doing Breakwater, Chicago. It's like a floating island project, Lake Michigan. We're looking to develop a football field-sized footprint of a vessel with 3 restaurant concepts. 8 pools, a nightclub, and a lounge, all floating out in the water. And then something happened in March, I think that thing called COVID, and it kind of spooked all our investors away. So we kind of waited out for a little bit, and one's getting any better, as we all know. So now I'm kind of hanging out, trying to find the next gig. So happy with you guys here tonight, and look forward to the conversation.
Hey man, we're glad that you're able to make some time for us again, and we look forward to your input as we bounce around a couple of topics tonight. Glenn Murray.
Yes, sir.
Talk to me, man. Tell me a little bit about what's going on, which everybody knows you. I mean, we're the Three Stooges, so if you're tuning in, you've seen the three knuckleheads, me, Mel, and Glenn. But for anybody that might be watching for the first time, man, give the good people some insight.
Glenn Murray, good to be here. A originating member of the cave, I guess is what we call it. A founding member.
Jermaine, they always looking to set themselves apart,
I don't like to brag, but executive producer, head lead producer, in charge of everything. That's all. I don't do much. That's all I got.
Hey, it ain't bragging if it's true. That's what my granddad.
Exactly. It ain't bragging if you can do it. Thank you.
You're just speaking on what you're speaking on, Mel. I'm just saying what I'm saying. Total
Truth will set you free.
I've missed you, man, the last couple of weeks. The Total Gent. Talk to the good people, man.
Hey, you talk all that stuff. My number ain't changed, brother. You ain't called to check on me in the past week.
Yeah, this is true. But I prayed for you.
I take it. The Lord knows I need him. If anybody in the cave need them, I'm the one.
I believe
I'm the one. Oh, Mel Roberson, 5-time Amazon best-selling author, soon to be 6th when Faith, Failure, Success comes out, and then 7th when Lessons for Little Boys comes out. So I got 2 new book projects in the work. I am a serial entrepreneur, double MBA in management and human resources, and I am also an actor. And I didn't tell y'all this. I meant to tell y'all this. I just got a distribution deal for my spoken word album that I'm about to release.
Oh, so, congratulations.
A major record label is going to do the distribution on that. So, yeah, man, just living the dream and always loving my 2 babies. That ain't babies. They grown.
Well, congratulations, man. We never expect the good news to stop with you, but every time that it comes through, we want to take the minute and celebrate you, man, and let you know we appreciate your gifts and your willingness to share them with us. And we give you a hard time, but we don't take the gifts and your willingness to share them lightly. Glenn,
I have an announcement to make before we start. I just want everybody to know, whatever arguments that happen, I've already won. I'm in the spirit of our president. I've already won any arguments that happen tonight. I'm just letting you know, if I don't win them, it's a fix. And what I'm going to do, if something happens that I don't win, is we're going to go back to all 18 episodes and we're going to recount every argument we had to show that I've won. Okay? So I just want y'all to know that. Okay? The fix is in.
Call me when y'all ready.
Right. I guess we can see how this is going to go.
I'm just making the announcement. You can carry on now. We can start.
Real quick. My name is Shawn Mason. I'm fortunate enough to be the host / moderator for the last 20 or so weeks with these gentlemen. It's been an awesome time. I am a full-time photographer. Mel, you hear me say that? I'm a full-time photographer running my own photography business for about the last 2 months or so in terms of full-time. And I'm also a writer. I will be featured in the book that Mel mentioned earlier, Lessons to the Little Boys 2. I'm excited about that project. I do a little bit in music. I do a little bit in blogging, but I'm just a dude, a face for radio type dude that gets a chance to do this kind of thing with you guys, man. And I'm excited as always to be here. I hope everybody watching is excited, and I hope they missed us, man. I hope y'all missed us last week when you didn't have your normal 9 o'clock Saturday fix with the fellas in the cave. So, Glenn, you know where we going, man. Let's get right into this election, dog.
Oh my goodness, you would start with me.
Absolutely.
So congratulations to President-elect Biden and Vice President-elect Harris. That's the first thing I want to say. It was interesting. I think the Democrats are fighting amongst each other right now because they didn't win everything they thought they wanted to. Speaking of the Senate, and they lost a few House races as well. So that dipped into their control of the House, but they still control the House. It just dipped into their advantage. One of the interesting things, though, that I think and this is only my opinion, but a lot of people I've heard a lot of pundits say this as well, is that I don't think any other Democrat would have won this race this year other than Joe Biden.
I don't think so either.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I honestly, I could never see Bernie Sanders being president. I think Trump would have ripped him apart. I don't see Elizabeth Warren, given my history in financial services, Elizabeth Warren is like public enemy number one. So every credit card company and every bank in America would have put 10 times the money they probably invested in this race to beat her. So it just wasn't going to happen. It took a special candidate to move the independents, and that's what really did it. The independents moving shifted this election. Now, amazing feat. He ran a great campaign. Anytime you win Georgia for the first time in 28 years, something like that, since 1992, and anytime you move Arizona into the Democratic column, that's amazing. So that was quite an effort. Props to Stacey Abrams, who registered, I think, upwards of 800,000 people over the last 4 years. That's amazing as well. Texas is inching a little bit closer to blue. Florida is going to be Florida forever. We don't know what they're doing. But no, it took a particular candidate to really do this. And you look at the number of people that voted, props to Joe Biden and team for getting that many people out to vote.
Absolutely. And props to Donald Trump, because he had a whole lot to do with that.
Yeah.
As well.
Yeah. Also just a shout out to all the workers, election workers. I mean, Republican and Democrat. If you think about this, everybody put their all into counting these votes and making sure that this is one of the safest elections, from what I understand, one of the safest elections we've had in years. And that's according to the administration and their own election commissioner. So, there'll be a lot of talk, and it's a lot of gaslighting about the election wasn't good. And, I find it amazing that on an election where everybody voted, all of a sudden we found this whole fraud argument to come up now. So,
yeah. Well,
it's interesting.
The biggest irony is that you go back to 2016 and everything that the Republicans were saying about the vote and the vote count and all that, they're saying the exact opposite now, even though they're on record as having said stuff that dispels every argument that they submit right now. Mel, I know you're not a big Biden fan. You might not want to even contribute, but what do you think about the election?
Yeah, I live here.
I just know that you're not a fan of his so much. But
I'm as a political science major from undergrad, I am fascinated at how the system works, or the lack of how the system works. So, I don't believe that Biden is the lesser of two evils. I think that there is one evil, and it's just a matter of who's going to be in control. I will say this: I think he's a better choice for the country right now than the guy that was formerly in there. So from that standpoint, I get it. But we'll see what they do. Like, people think because the election stops that the work stops. The election is just the beginning of it. Now it's time to hold their feet to the fire and get stuff done that we need to get done. Yeah, it's interesting how many people say, or how many people on the Republican side say, oh, it was fixed. Well, if it was fixed, why wouldn't we fix everything? Why wouldn't we control, Congress, the Senate? You know what I mean? Like if we gonna cheat, like if the Democrats cheated, they suck at cheating. You know what I mean? Let's make it really, really close, guys.
Yeah. And we all know there would have been no alleged cheating had he won.
Right.
So,
right.
It's
but I was watching old footage from the previous election or the previous debates when him and Hillary Clinton were debating, and she was like, "This guy is crazy. Anytime he doesn't win something, it's always a plot against him." Yeah, when he did his TV show, didn't win an Emmy, they cheated. You know what I mean? When it was seriously, like, anytime it was something that was not in his favor, it was always somebody else cheated him out of it. Somebody robbed him of it. And the most interesting thing, and then I'm done on this topic for the evening. The last thing that I have to say is, why is it that when he loses, everybody that is of that party, well, not everybody that's of that party, but the supporters are so up in arms that they want to do a million MAGA march on Washington, D.C. Makes no, like, your march is not going to change the fact that he lost. Yeah. And the truck drivers that are striking to put the entire country at risk because Biden isn't coming to office makes no sense, because That's like you saying, well, I'm on this airplane, and since I don't like the pilot, I'm gonna light it on fire. You in the plane too, dummy. Like, it just doesn't make sense. All right, I'm done. Y'all call me when it's time for relationships.
Yeah, we got some juice tonight. Jermaine, give me your thoughts, man. I don't know where you stand in terms of your political acumen or your passion about politics, but let me know what you think, man.
You know, just like the rest of the world, I am glad that the whole process in the election is over.
Yeah.
You know, it was daunting, and I knew that we were not going to have a president on the night of the election.
Right.
But I was hoping that it wouldn't be drawn out too much further. You know, I was doing everything that I could with the influence that I have to make sure that people got to the polls.
Yeah.
And even with the work that I do with our organization, I Am a Gentleman, we had an initiative at the polls where we simply went to the polls and thanked people for voting, because the reality is people did not have to cast their vote. So we set up and wanted to make sure that we, you know, gave people goodie bags, and we had snacks for them when they were in line for 2 and 3 hours, and just saying thank you for voting. And you know, I'm just glad that it's over. And you know, the other thing that I'll say about it is that, you know, most people thought that, you know, what November 2nd, I think was election day, that on November 2nd we would have a new president that day. Well, of course, that was the day of the election, but you know, Mr. Biden doesn't start until, you know, in January. And I say that to say, I just don't think that we have seen the last of Mr. Trump.
Yeah, well, I hope that we see him behind bars. But Ashton, what are your thoughts, man?
Man, I got a lot of thoughts. We'll probably be for an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, man. First of all, you know, going in, I thought a month out. First of all, I knew all the polls were wrong, or way off, because they just look at 2016. They're way off then. I thought it was going to be a Biden electoral landslide, or Trump ekes out a 20 electoral vote victory. It wasn't neither of the above. Biden squeaked it out 306 to 232, 235, around there. I don't think there was obviously no blue wave. We thought the blue wave was going to come. It was a repudiation against Trump, but not against Republican policies. If you look across the state or across the country, Republicans control 25 states outright, the mansion and both chambers of their legislative houses. 25 states, which is huge coming in 2020 as you set forth the remapping for the next decade. I think Democrats control 15, and then the other 10 are split. So it was not a repudiation against right of center policies, it was against Trump. But even that being said, the dude still got 7 million more votes he did in 2016. So the guy tapped into something with African Americans, Latinos, independents. There was something there. And yeah, Biden won by 4 million more votes. And I think to Glenn's point, I don't think Biden won this election. No one voted for Biden. They voted against Donald Trump. Biden played not to win. Anybody who was to be the Democratic nominee knew they were going to win. It was a question about how much. So they played defense all day long. He was in his bunker for 2-3 months going into the convention. He came out of it maybe a month and a half before the elections, and that was it. Donald Trump was the first president to lose, and still people carry people over on his coattails across the finish line, all the down ballot races. Yep. It's remarkable, which is why I think, and look at Georgia, I think both Democratic candidates come out ahead, because Donald Trump is not on the ballot to bring out those far right voters to the polls. I think they split the Senate 50-50 with Kamala being the tiebreaker, and which gives Democrats at least the next 2 years full control of our country. You look at Arizona, there was no one was going to beat Mark Kelly. I mean, Mark McSally was a bad candidate. She lost last time to Kristen Sinema. She lost to Mark Kelly. She was a horrible candidate. She should never been on the ballot in the first place. You're not going to beat an NASA astronaut who, by the way, is married to Gabby Giffords, who almost got assassinated 10 years ago. That was a no-win. So I don't think Arizona was a shock to anybody, at least not to me. Georgia surprised me only because of their 50% plus one thing. If it was outright winner, it would be done right now. The primary would go to January, and Purdue would be seated in the Senate again. I think with going to someone's talk about earlier about Trump, though, why he's talking about fraud and everything else. My theory is Trump knows he lost. He lost straight out, but he's trying to delegitimize Biden's presidency, just like the Democrats did for him right after he won 2016. And after he took office, it was Russia, not my president. I think he's trying to do the same thing, reverse the Democrats for the next for 2 to 4 years. So
There
I
are
got a lot more to say on that, but we only have an hour to talk other topics, so I'll let it be there.
There are a couple of things that I'll throw out there before we transition, and one of them is I think that if you liken, the campaign to football, they played the Democrats played the game they needed to play. Why go on the offensive and risk? There's no saying the more you say, the more likely you are to say something somebody doesn't like. You already got a fool on the other side.
That's right.
Let him continue to be a fool. And my mother used to say something to my brother and I. She says, one thing to be a fool. It's another thing to open your mouth and remove all doubt. It's one thing to be suspected of being. It's another thing to open your mouth and remove all doubt. So when you got somebody that's daily being this humane and showing themselves to be, as my man DJ Just Denson says, an orange baby man, on a daily basis, it's kind of like let him do it. Now, what was disappointing for me, and this is what I think that people, particularly people of color, need to pay attention to. His supporters are particularly rambunctious. They are a wild group, and they are full of hate and racist feelings, and they were so empowered and so emboldened. And just because this election is over, now that they've shown themselves, you can't pretend that you haven't seen what you've seen. So for me, it's still important that we watch our backs and keep our head on a swivel, as we say in the hood, because those people have shown themselves in a big and hateful way. And I think we need to be conscious of that. The last thing I'll say is, I know everybody stands where they stand and they have their own motivations. But the number of black men that came out supporting him was just hurtful for me. And I know that everybody has whatever they need to protect. Some people vote based on their interests. But, the black men that are able to turn a deaf ear to the hate that he espouses and the inhumanity that he espouses, and to be a man of color, I found that hurtful. I mean, he'd have to really, really show me something to make me think that there was anything about. I would take a hit, before I let him represent me.
Did he increase his numbers? Like, wasn't it 20%?
5 to 8 was what I
5 to 8. Okay,
It was 20% for the Hispanics.
Okay, 20% for Hispanics.
Yeah. So what do you think caused that? What drove people to the polls for him?
I don't want to say.
I'm curious to know that.
In Florida, it was the Cubans. He played up on the socialist thing, so that's why.
African Americans, though, what drove the African American men? I know the one big stat they talked about was African American unemployment is all-time low under Trump.
Right.
Whether that's been fact checked or not, I don't know. But was that enough to drive people out the polls for him? I don't know what did that.
I think it was a combination of African Americans are more affluent now, but that grew over the Obama years. It didn't really grow over the Trump years. So you start to vote your interest, and your interest becomes your money. I heard a billionaire. We won't call any names, but there's only a few of them out there that are black. But he went all in for Trump, and he talked about how he had, he talked about prison reform. He talked about the platinum plan, which never actually earmarked any money for the African American community. It just said $500 million was going to be invested in enterprise zones, which never talked about what an enterprise zone was. There was no definition around it, but he was all in for that. And if you think about it, his experience and his lived experience is totally different from most African Americans' lived experience, because he's a billionaire. And if you're a millionaire, and I always say that if you make over $125,000, it doesn't matter who's in office, because you're probably in a good job. And if you haven't been affected by COVID, then you're probably in a position where who's in office won't affect you directly. It's the people that make under $100,000 that are living paycheck to paycheck or working in the service industry that see that. So as more African Americans get affluent, that vote is up for grabs. And I think that's what Democrats have to understand as well. The same old tried and true things. You can't run a commercial on a black radio station with a gospel choir and think black people are going to vote for you. I'm sorry, Democrats, but that's stupid, and you got to stop doing that. Those are the things that are going to change in the next 4 to 8 years as just people move up the ladder.
I hate to say this, man. This is this ain't gonna win me a lot of friends. Thankfully, I have enough. But if you look at the number of black women that voted and the way they voted versus the way black men voted. I think black women, as much as they have their unique challenges in this country, they don't look at anyone else's success as a barometer for their own. They cut their own path and they identify it through their own efforts and their own successes. I think that there is a mentality among black men oftentimes to use the status of white men as their barometer. That's what they're shooting for. And just like I think a lot of white women vote with their husbands, not their interests, I think a lot of black men, especially if they consider themselves to be well-to-do, they it's just like if I want to be an actor, I start hanging out with Mel, because I want to be around what I want to be. And so I feel like a lot of them start to lean that way because for them, well-to-do white guys have the lives that they want. So they decide, okay, I'm going to start associating myself with them and doing the things that they do. That's just my particular opinion. Luckily, I'm broke, so I don't have to see what that feels like. But I do believe that if I was a well-to-do, I would still be so turned off by his inhumanity that I would not be led to support him in office. So let's move on because I know we can.
Well,
Come on, Mel.
Glenn is rich and he ain't vote for Trump, so we all right. Next topic.
Hey, and I'm rich in personality, but that doesn't really, count. So
I mean, I'm rich in charm, yes, but everybody
and with all
can't
that working out you're doing,
afford
you
that.
rich in them arms. I see you got your short sleeve shirt on. I see you.
Now you're showing his arms off. Now look at it. They'll lean up like that.
No, I did not do that on
gun
purpose.
show Ash. He got to, he just kind of for no reason, just unnecessary arm flexing, like.
I'm
Here's-
wearing
man, I
my
can't touch my hair
Kobe
here.
T-shirt.
Right here.
My friend Alicia
Right,
Neal.
scratching his head.
That's all I'm doing. I'm wearing a T-shirt by a friend of mine, Alicia Neal, Funk Soul Collection. That's all I'm
Culture
doing.
T-shirt.
Yes,
Right.
culture.
Right.
Hey, if you ain't got them for the three of us, she don't get no official mention on the thing. That's a sponsorship. Alicia, I need a large, and Shawn needs a medium. Let's get
No, unfortunately, I need an extra large, but that's a whole nother.
it.
So check it out, man. Let's switch gears. We already halfway through. It goes fast, man.
Yes, sir.
Well, real quickly, man, let's talk about this pandemic. I know everybody has pandemic fatigue at this point, COVID fatigue. But how you guys doing, man? How you making out? How are you coming through it, with the adjustments that you have to make? Jermaine, let me hear from you, man. How you making it?
Man, we are taking it one day at a time. I agree. It is pandemic fatigue in my neck of the woods. But one day at a time, hopefully, everyone begins to move to doing what we all need to do so that we can get beyond the pandemic. I think that if we would have started, doing what we needed to do much earlier, we would not be here today. Just to think that beginning on Monday at 6 a.m., Chicago's going into another shutdown is almost unimaginable. I'm not sure that I can, stay locked in the house for another 30 days.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a little bit different, though, right? This is an advisory. This isn't
Right.
what I understand. It isn't a cold.
Yeah, it's not an order.
Yeah, but
Right.
but if we're doing what we're supposed to do, we should treat it as an order.
Absolutely.
I've never come out. I've not done anything differently from day one, really. I'm working, so I have to do that. I work mask or whatever. But for the most part, man, I've eaten. I think I ate outside twice over the last month. Friends in town, and so we wanted to do something, and so we got outside and ate. But in terms of anything that resembles the normalcy, before this, my life is nothing like that. What about Ash? What about you, Ash? How are you coming out?
I'm doing very well, actually, better than most. I tell you, COVID dealt everybody a 2-7 suit, and I've been bluffing my way through life the past 4, 5, 6 months, trying to get that inside straight on the table.
Yeah.
I've been traveling. I did a lot of road trips. Went out to Utah and Colorado, some camping and hiking out there. I did one trip to Mount Rushmore, separate trip. I got blessed. Went down to the NLCS 2 games, Dodgers Braves, and then 1 World Series game, Dodgers Braves. I had a buddy of mine. He calls me up and says, "Hey, I got tickets. You want to go?" I said, "Man, I can't afford it. I'm out of work." He goes, "I got you. Don't worry about it." The next day, I get a thing from American Airlines saying your trip's confirmed. I'm like, dude, what? He's like, yeah, I got you. I told you I got you. So he flew me down there, went to the ball game, took everything for me, flew me back. It was fantastic.
You need
I went
friends
to a
like that.
Colts game.
You need friends like that.
And your Dodgers won too.
They did win. Kershaw game 1. And I went to a Colts game the following weekend. And I've been blessed. I really have been. But, okay, tell you what, June 3rd, once phase 3 hit, I was out of the house. I was going to bars, restaurants, taking it safe, wearing a mask. I tell everybody, you know what? Be prepared, not scared. I kept my distance, wore a mask. I was very cautious, but I got out of the house. A lot of runs, a lot of bike rides, a lot of rounds of golf. I was not going to let this ruin my life or bring me down one bit. So, Glenn knows this. I'm a 20-year cancer survivor. You go through cancer, you try to find good ways to get through things. It's all about attitude. It's one thing you can control in life, your attitude. So I kept it positive the entire time. So I've been very blessed to make sure I had a good time this in 2020 we got 6 weeks left to go. So I've been good. Thank you.
Somebody said you're wearing your mask and your Bentley, Ash, but
Roger.
One thing that I would really, really push, man, is that because when this first hit, there were, and I may have spoken on this before, but there were a whole lot of people that came out with the whole what you need to be doing, during this time mentalities. And I'm a believer that, man, when you enter into a space that you've not been in, nobody can dictate to you what to do at that time. Because for some of us, you just want to wake up, make it through the day, and go back to bed. So people were putting these challenges on people. If you want to do this, if you haven't done this, or this during that time, then you don't really want to do it. And I am totally adverse to that mindset, man. I believe that when the time hits you to do it, then you'll do it. This is a unique time. And I think everybody has to handle it and manage it the best way that they could. This hit in early spring, late January, wherever. It was 2 months ago that I'm on the phone with Mel about doing something that I could have done months ago. But months ago, I wasn't ready. I wasn't in the right mindset. I wasn't where I needed to be. And guess what? The pandemic doesn't dictate that.
Well, to speak to the other side of that, though, Shawn, I think what a lot of people were doing, especially with me being in the personal development and self-help space, I think what a lot of people were doing when this all happened was, in their own fashion, everybody's not motivated the same, but there are a lot of people that think pushy motivation works for everybody, and it doesn't. Right. So I don't think the people that were like, well, if you're not doing this, if you're not bettering yourself, if you're not working out, you don't really want it. I don't think they meant that in a bad way. I think they were just doing it in a way that they understood, and they were making the best decision with the information that they had at the time, not understanding the gravity of what the pandemic really is. Right. You know what I mean? So I went into the pandemic with a certain type of attitude, being in the self-help and personal development space, like, I'm gonna get this writing done, and I got a movie I'm writing, and I'm back to working out and all of this other stuff. And then it hit me. I started losing people. I've lost 17 people since February. You know what I mean? And so all of these things have happened. And then it was like the realization that my life has constantly been go, 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 go. And now I got an opportunity to not do a thing. And I haven't had the opportunity to not do a thing in a very long time. There have been days where I'm just like, I'm not even getting on that Zoom meeting today, dog. Like, because I deserve it, Yeah. So it's But
I think you speak to a very realistic thing, which is that lines up with who and how you are.
Yeah, for sure.
For sure. Yeah. So for you to see that time and go, man, I'm gonna capitalize on it. I mean, you're a very entrepreneurial driven dude. You manage your time, and you've been doing it for years, versus somebody who all of a sudden can't go into their structured, corporate office to work for somebody else. So I think
here's the caveat though. So many people, their excuse is, or has been, I haven't had time to do this. I haven't had time to write my book. I haven't had time to blah, 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 blah. And so now it wasn't a thing that you didn't have the time, because now you got the time and you still haven't done it. You know what I mean? So now you got to dig deeper to figure out what that thing is that's keeping you from doing it.
Or they're not speaking to the fact that your ability to navigate that time has been affected by an outside source.
Exactly.
It's not like you're just off to be off. You're off because people around you are dying, which is a very different, kind of thing, We're at 9:38, man, and I want to talk about these relationships. And the whole room went silent.
Nah, hold on. Wait. Y'all keep talking. Hold on.
Uh-oh. So while he does that,
He's going to get food, probably. Oh, he turned the lights off.
Mood.
He's setting the mood. Okay.
I like it, Mel. I like it. Let's get sexy with it, right?
Got the candlelight. You know what I'm saying? Right here. Let's go.
Next we need Roger on with that deep voice. It's time for
right. NDTV and the love out here.
It's the love.
Hey man, I really want to jump first into that thing you and I were bouncing around earlier. You see, I left that alone, right? Man, when I saw that, I just left it alone. I wasn't gonna do that. I decided I was gonna leave that alone.
Oh my God.
That was hard, production team.
Yeah, right. Really?
Yep, there goes the light. Yep, we're gonna turn that back on.
So Glenn shared with me a meme earlier today, not knowing that I had actually posted it this morning.
No, I knew you posted. I stole it from you. Yeah, I just was like, let's talk about it. Yeah, I knew it was you. You always starting stuff.
Right. And I sent you something earlier this week that I don't even remember what it was.
I'm looking through my phone. I don't see anything, Shawn.
Yeah, I know I did, and I sent it to only you though, so it's not on a thread with other people. So look for something from me, just from you.
Okay.
From you, just from me. So the meme says, and as beautifully written as it is, I had a bit of an issue with it. But the meme says, normalize helping females without any sexual expectation. And then the response to that was, you know how people put out a thought and then somebody throws a counter. So the initial statement was normalize helping females without any sexual expectation. The response was normalize respecting males despite their financial status, which I thought was very powerful. However, I think that you can respect somebody. Respect can be an intangible. I've never met Jermaine, but I knew a little bit about what he did. Jermaine don't know me from a can of paint, but based on what I know about him, I already have a level of respect for him. So respect can be an intangible, unknown thing. When you're helping somebody, as the thing says, normalize helping females. And I know some people that have an issue with the term females, but I'm just reading what it says. Help is tangible. It's something that you can define and see and recognize. I would have loved for it to say, normalize acknowledging or seeing the value in a man past his financial status, because to do that requires a bit more of a tangible kind of action, as opposed to being able to just sit back and say, somebody can say they respect me now. They haven't, I don't know them. They don't know me, but be able to show a man or receive a man and what he can bring to your life in value past that piece. Because I personally hate when, just like I hate when women are limited to just their physical beauty or their sexual prowess. Like there's no other value that they have. I've always abhorred men being defined by not only their wallet, but their willingness to give what's in it to you. A real man pays this. A real man pays that. No, you don't even know what a real man is. You know what the kind of man that affirms you is. That's real for you. That's not a real man necessarily. That's the kind of man that affirms you. And you may have seen that growing up. Your mom, your dad, whatever. That plays a big part. I grew up in a household where my dad brought his check home to my mother. He took out enough for a drink. He would buy a bottle of Canadian Club to enjoy on his own. Everything else went to my mother because my mother managed the finances. He didn't buy an item of clothing. He didn't buy anything for himself. That was what he was taught. I personally didn't get that lesson, but that was what he was taught. So I would love to hear what you guys think about it. And of course, since we run our mouths so much, I'm going to hit Jermaine and Ash up, first for their takes on it. Jermaine?
Yeah, so I think when we look at relationships, the whole thing is it's a matter of compromise. And until both parties decide, what their level of compromise is going to be, I think that's going to determine and dictate the success of the relationship. I totally agree with everything you said. We can't put, women in just a box of, their beauty and their bodies. And we can't put, men, women can't put men in a box with, just their wallet and, and all the other stuff. I think that we have to see beyond that. And once we understand, the compromise, the level of compromise that we're willing to invest in the relationship, I think everything rests, on that.
Yeah, I agree. Ashman, what do you think?
So you're asking the wrong guy. I've been in a relationship for like 2-3 years now. And
but you've been in one, so you know what it was like.
Well, part of that is because I respect women maybe a little too much, where I get put in the friend zone and I can't cross that line over.
Yeah,
so,
I get friend zone. I get friend zone quite a bit.
Yeah,
too.
no, but that's the thing. It's like I respect women like to the T and in all facets, or more than the looks, everything else. Like I look at their personality, their intelligence, their drive, their passion, and it gets you into a certain box and you can't get out of. So maybe I should be a little bit more of a dick now and be less respectful. I don't know.
But before we move on to the other guys' ask, I want to tell you this, man. I have entertained that space quite a bit. And that's, I know it's funny, but I've thought the same thing. Like, because you see guys that are dicks and they're known whores and they still somehow get all the girls, and you go, how is that happening? And you go, man, is that how I should be? And then you have to decide, no, I'm committed to being the guy that I am.
Right.
And one thing that I want you to consider, man, I am so proud of the fact that I have the ability to be that with women. I have so many close platonic female friendships, and I know a lot of guys who could not do it. Right? There's no way they couldn't wait for their time to try to insert some dick into it. Right? But I have solid female friendships, and a lot of the strength is the fact that they know I'll never do that. Right. So what I'm petitioning you to do is be proud about that space.
Oh, I'm not knocking it all. I'm not knocking it.
I'm just saying, I know it's frustrating. I know it's frustrating, but it says a lot when a lady trusts you to be her friend, and talk to you and confide in you. And Mel's laughing at me, but I'm gonna keep on talking. And but I've learned to cherish that space. So I just want to give you that, man, so that it, on those nights when I'm here by myself, it's not fun. I'm like, dude, the friend zone is not fun. But at the same time, I'm very proud of my ability to manage it because I know so many guys who could not manage it.
100% agree.
I'm laughing at Kennery. He just said I have several properties in the friend zone. We got to get you back on the show, Kennery Smith. You belong on this show.
Yeah, we got to get you back on. I love that. So he can give us some more of his great notes. Mel, you had something to say, so come on.
Nah, I didn't. I'll pass it to Glenn. Go ahead, Glenn.
You don't want to be up over this week. It's the first week back. You want to be.
That's just, I
think Brother Mel wants the final word.
That I
Good
don't
idea,
want.
Jermaine. Yeah, that's what we'll do. We'll let Mel have the final word on this topic. Thank you for passing that over to me. So, but really interesting because Keisha Rose, our producer, our super producer, shared something with me along those lines. There was a woman and she was very rough in her delivery. So if you listened to how she talked, you would have missed it. But she basically came at the women and challenged them to say, you're demanding all this stuff from a man, but are you ready to be the woman that he needs? Are you ready to handle the job of being with him? And that's a good question because women come to you with these list of demands, kind of like finances, to your point, Shawn, and all these other things, but are they ready to actually carry the load as well? Because it's a two to tango type of situation. So
it's tough to say, man, but you come across a lot of women that feel like they deserve those things just because they're a woman.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of women out there. I'm sorry, y'all, but you're not the only woman out there. So let's not.
And being a woman
doesn't qualify you.
Right, and being a woman doesn't make you that special. You gotta be doing something. You know what I'm saying? Like, just because you're that gender doesn't mean that the world is supposed to lay down for you and grant you every wish. And I think there are a lot of women that have that, mentality, especially if they think they're standing on a little something. Don't be cute and have, a little money in your pocket, then it's really out of control. So, that's why, I retired. I'll let y'all have it. It was,
You retired, Shawn? Really? You retired?
yeah, retired.
Yeah, I think it's a few things, right? It's a few things. I was this is a conversation that I'm developing, but I think relationships depend on there are four things. There's ability, availability, compatibility, and responsibility, right? So the ability part of it, which is what we're kind of focusing on here, if a woman knows that she wants the man to have the ability to, let's just say, be a provider, right? If that's the case, if that is important to her, and there's nothing wrong with that if that is what you desire and you find somebody who's willing to provide what you desire. My mom, when she had my brother, my dad was like, you stay home, take care of the boys. We lived in a rough neighborhood. I'll bring the money home. You don't have to worry about that. Not saying that we can do that these days. I mean, there are some people that can. There are some people that live that situation, right? But it's the ability to provide whatever it is that the other person wants if you all come to an agreement in that. And to the point that Shawn made, it's also a thing of, what do you bring too? What like, that's fine. All right, this is what you want from me. I got a list too of things that I want. And if you don't meet those things, just because I meet them for your list, if you don't meet them for my list, then there's a disconnect. A young lady asked me, well, what do you bring to the table? I said, the table.
The table.
The
whole
table.
damn table. Right.
The company that makes tables. You know what I mean? So it's not even a thing of, all right, so this is what I bring. Do you have chairs? Do you have utensils, plates? How about the centerpiece, right? So you're so worried about the table. All right, so we got the table. We've established that. What are the accessories that go around the table that make this a complete set? And if that doesn't happen, and I used to say that relationships are based on a value for value exchange. And the way that I phrased that made it seem like the relationships are going to be 50-50. And that's not necessarily the case. I may bring more in one area than she does. She may bring more in another area than I do. But at the end of the day, there has to be enough there where I don't feel like I'm all give, and not receiving. And she doesn't feel like she's all give and not receiving. And this happens with communication and setting expectations and letting people know what the expectations are straight out the gate, and having constant communication, like constant communication, to the point where I get pissed at when I'm involved or there's something going on and there's some information that is withheld from me that could have been pertinent information for our relationship. But then I find out later on and it's like, why didn't you tell me this a month ago when it happened? 2 months ago when it happened? Well, you said you didn't want to, or we don't talk. And no. If something changes, right, that could be lead to a cataclysmic event within our relationship, then that's yeah, you don't withhold that type of information. You know what I mean? So I'm gonna stop right there unless we talk about something.
No. I think you make some good points, man. And I would add to that, though, this is something that we also miss because we are inherently self-indulgent. I think we also miss the fact that for every expectation, much like Mel said, for every expectation that you have walking into a situation with another person, they have a whole criteria of expectations as well. And your journeys have not been the same. And the best explanation I can give on that is I remember growing up being the kind of young man, I may have told this story before, being the kind of young man that was taught, you always open the car door, put the lady in the car. If she doesn't lean over and unlock that door for you after you made that effort to put her in the car safely, then don't ask her out again. I mean, it was hardcore like that. But as I've gotten older, I've also understood that not everybody is taught the same things. And so this could be a very genuine spirit, a very great mate for you who wasn't taught that. So we have to stop writing people off for stuff that ultimately doesn't mean shit. Like I always say, okay, so good. You got somebody that can take you to Dubai, but if you get sick, is he gonna ride with you? You know what I'm saying? Like that's the kind of stuff that we need to look at. But we, oh girl, I want to travel. Okay. But what happens when you hit the skids and you find out that, okay, he want to travel so much, he finna kick you to the curb and travel with somebody else. You know, so I think that we put our attention on stuff that doesn't really carry a lot of weight in the long haul, in the long term. And I think it does us a disservice. You know, it does us a disservice.
Well, I think we do, and I'm not just saying women do this, but I think men do it too. There's the hotness and the heart. We go for the hotness, and the hotness doesn't even necessarily mean looks. It means bank account. It means status. It means all of those things. We like the heat. We like the hotness, and then we forget about the heart. The heart is the stuff that keeps you there. The hotness is what attracts you, and we all are attracted to beautiful women. You know.
Hallelujah!
I knew I would get an amen out of that one. You know, but it's the heart that keeps you. You know, you're going to be hot, but there's a lot of hot women out there. I hate to tell you, I'm sorry. You're not the only one. There's plenty of those. So I need to know what's in your heart. The hotness is great, but the heart is what counts and what keeps us there. Hey, you know, man. And like Mel said, you know, I bring a lot to the table. So I'm going to need you to come with more than a fork because that's not going to get it.
Well, my God bless him, man. I lost one of my best boys about 2 years ago. And he had a different take on the table, man. Rest in peace, Steve Fitzgerald Hill. But he once said to me, if I'm talking to a young lady and she is preoccupied with the table, not with the table itself, but with her contribution to the table, he said, keep it moving. He said, because once we're together, the table is community. Why are we still measuring what everybody is putting on the table? It's our table. So sometimes you're going to put a lot on it and sometimes I'm going to put a lot on it. So let's be concerned with the table, but not our individual contribution to the table. Because here's the other piece. That's going to switch. Life is like that. You know, I've had my income triple from a Friday to a Sunday and I've been unemployed for 6 months. You know what I'm saying? Like life is full of ebbs and flows. And what you want is somebody who's going to ride with you just as hard when you're on top of the world as when the world is on top of you. And that's what I have never found. And so that kind of contributed to my, you know, stepping away from the whole thing.
Right. And we need to start, there was a saying, and I think I posted it, we need to stop seeing the good in people and start seeing the truth in people.
And ignoring what we see.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, we ignore a lot.
That's it right there. Yeah. That right there is it.
Yeah. That was some truth in that, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm. It's true.
Hey, it was Maya Angelou who said, when people show you who they are,
believe them.
Jermaine,
believe them the first time. Don't
believe them the first time.
To show you, 2-3 different people. No,
absolutely.
I got you the first. Let me put my arms in the picture like Glenn. So.
I did not put my arm in the picture, y'all. Really, we just gonna talk about my arms.
Right.
Mel pops his pecs. Y'all don't never say nothing to Mel about that. He'll pop. Look at, he's about to do it now. There he goes. See,
I can do it.
I can't even do that.
Sexy as Mel, so I would rather him do it. Mine ain't as sexy as his is.
But until I start popping my pecs, y'all can't talk about my arms or anything.
I met Mel in the gym, so I know he can pop his pecs.
I'm not receiving that COVID weight. That's all. I'm just not receiving it. So I decided to work hard on not receiving it.
Gentlemen, can we stay on topic?
John started it. John did it.
He just don't want us talking about his pecs, Glenn. That's all.
I know.
But here's the interesting part, right? So I've learned a lot from my past few relationships, right? And I think every relationship, because I'm of this mindset now, every relationship I take from it, okay, what is this trying to teach me? As a matter of fact, I posted it on my page today. It popped up from a memory years ago. When I made the shift from why is this happening to me to what is this trying to teach me, everything shifted. You know what I mean? So I've learned that in a lot of situations, my take on love is not a feeling, it's not an emotion. It's not your happiness. True love is the decision to make a commitment, then being committed to that decision. Because once all the other shit happens, the sickness, once the finances change, once people make mistakes and all of that other stuff, at the end of the day, it's your decision to make a commitment and being committed to that decision. And here's the other part of it, having the other person as committed as you are. Because somebody could tell you how much they love you, and that they're in love with you and all of these other things. But if they continue to make decisions that are hurtful towards you, and they know and they're aware of your feelings, right? They're aware that it has the potential to cause a discord or drive a wedge in between you, and they still make those decisions. That doesn't mean they doesn't love you, that they don't love you. That just means their commitment to that love is not the same as your commitment. And if somebody isn't matching your commitment, right? You know, you have to take that time and say, I see how valuable I am in all of this. And I deserve to have somebody that's going to go as hard for me as I'm going to go for them. That's going to love as hard on me as I'm going to love on them. And that when it comes to making a decision, even if it's a sacrifice or some type of what's the word I'm looking for? I can't find the word right now, but they're willing to make those for you in order to help ensure that you are okay. Those concessions, that's the exact word I was looking for. It's the exact word I was looking for. Pamela said, well, Mel isn't snacking wisdom. You know what? Just because of that, I'm going to go get a snack right now.
Too bad we come to the end of the show now. No, too late for your snack.
The hell with y'all. I'm done.
Hey, man, hey, Mel, you preached that thing right there. That was real. And it made me think about, I had a couple shoot earlier today. And shout out to Kanika and Dean, who I shot with earlier today, man. And it was so fascinating. I posted about it because it made me realize that, you know, I'm a good enough photographer. I know I'm going to walk away with some decent images. You know, I mean, everything isn't going to work, but I'm going to stumble upon some things that work, and I'm confident they're going to like, and I'm going to like. But what I've started to enjoy, man, is that I get a chance to watch their connections play out, right? And so they pulled up today. It was cold. It was, you know, just kind of dreary and gloomy. Overcast is good for photography, but the mood was just kind of stank, you know. And so we get out, I'm in a mask, you know, and so the husband, you know, he was Chicago dude, you know, all the way. You know, he was polite, but he was not trying to F with me. He was like, you know, all right, sir. Yeah, all right. You know, I'm like, oh, he don't even want to be here. You know, and so we get out, man. And I'm just doing me. You know, I always bring my little music, and I'm playing love songs and trying to get them into space and coaching them and learning a little bit about them as I shoot. And, you know, about halfway through the shoot, their connection is coming through, you know, and the fact that it's cold outside and they're in a foreign environment and situation is suddenly being swallowed by the fact that I'm still out here with who I love. Right. And so I tell him to, you know, kiss her on the forehead, and he does that, and there's a moment that they kind of freeze, you know, kind of inhale in that moment, you know, and then she grabs his face, you know, and then they share something that I can't hear, you know, and I'm like, the connection, that's what we all want. You know, that's the connection on the level that Mel was just talking about is what we want. And so they've been married 10 years. You know that every day hasn't been rosy, but I watched them, man. I watched them tease each other like grade school kids, and turn around and me want to say, hey, I'm still here. Y'all need to get a room. You know what I'm saying? It was just beautiful to watch it. And I was like, that connection, man, even if you don't have it yourself, for me to watch it is a beautiful thing.
Let me talk to that connection for a moment too, Shawn, because what's very important there that you mentioned is that connection in that moment. And beyond that connection, remember I said it was four things. The one of them is responsibility. The responsibility to protect that connection, because you can have a connection with somebody and neglect that connection, or even though you know it, you feel it, you know it's real,
not massage it, not take care of it.
Yeah, and you neglect that connection, or and here's the other part too, and I posted this. Some people are so used to losing that they don't know when they're winning.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah.
So when they're in a situation where they're winning, where they got what they want in the palm of their hands, they're so used to not having it that they're like, oh,
it feels too good. You sabotage it yourself. It feels too good. You don't trust the universe. You don't trust the universe. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And listen,
hey, when you talk about that concession, to me, that's also, man, there's going to come a fork in the road where you can speak your piece and start a fight, or keep your opinion to yourself and not have a fight.
But they know what they did.
Huh? Right,
They know what they
know what they did.
They know what they did. No.
And sometimes you can decide that the fight isn't worth the damage it's going to cause, because at the end of the day, you don't want to go nowhere. You don't want them to go anywhere. It's not worth being right. You know what I'm saying? Like, that, to me, that's part of the concession that males talk. Sometimes you have to swallow stuff to massage and take care of that connection. You gotta sacrifice for it. You know, you can't be the star all the time. You can't pick your battles. You know, you can't always be out front. Sometimes, to me, I've learned what somebody won't do for your benefit far outweighs what anybody will do for you.
Absolutely.
I don't care what they'll buy you or where they'll take you. What will they stop doing because it displeases you? What will they not do because they love you and they don't want you to hurt? So what somebody won't do, to me, is a lot more powerful than what they will do for you.
Boy,
that's
deep.
Shawn is deep tonight. You need to not drink more often.
Hey, man, don't be impressed. I'm deep and single.
Jalapenos, y'all. It's hot in here now.
One of the things Mel always says, and he's actually right about it, is
what you did when you crossed me.
You say that like he's really right, though.
Other than that,
Mel says, and he's actually right this time.
He's actually right this time. One time, no, he asked, and we asked this a few times on the show. Know what you want. What do you want? Yeah. Think about that too, because relationships aren't like, I can't go into Gibson's and order the special. I need to order steak, and then I need to put my appetizers together with it. I need to know what's going to accompany it.
You can do it. You can wash some dishes. I mean, you can do it.
Well, yeah, Shawn. Okay, thank you very much for that. But I don't, you can't go into a restaurant that's worth it and just get it off the plate the way you want it. You need to put it together. You need to understand what you're asking for. You need to make sure that meal is right for you. And relationships are kind of that way too, because you're not going to get everything a la carte the way you want it all the time.
Absolutely.
You need to make sure, from picking and choosing your battles, from, what don't you like about what they do that you can actually stand? Because if 8 out of 10 things, they're hitting on 8 out of 10 things, then you're going to hold those two against them.
Yeah.
That's not the way to be. So what's your mindset coming into a relationship? Are you in the right mindset? Because some people aren't, and a lot of women aren't. And they need to think about that, because their mindset is what
we need to be more mature about it, and that's both sides. I mean, I don't, I know that, I date women. So a lot of times when I'm speaking my piece, it seems like I'm speaking particularly about women, but most of the things that I speak on, I know that they are not gender specific. I'm just speaking on women because I date women, but I don't think any gender owns anything. We all are guilty of a whole lot of stuff, and we need to be more mature about it. And I want to say thank you to Yolanda and all the other people out there that are saying we're so good tonight. We need to re-up for an hour.
Except for Pamela Borders just called me a hater. I said men and women, Pamela Borders. I saw your little comment. Don't get kicked out of the cave. I got a little pull here.
I mean, technically, we did have last week off, so that was like the end of season 2 of The Cave.
Yeah, it's the season premiere.
This is like the season premiere. So to have a 90-minute season premiere ain't necessarily a bad idea. I don't know what our board has to do.
Hey man, I'm only an associate producer. Glenn is a heavyweight, so. And I think the ladies want to see Jermaine's pink jacket longer.
Yeah. And Ashwin sweats. Ashwin's in sweats, but they're really sexy sweats. So, women, you got a little treat on the bottom half of the show here.
And the way he got that hanky in his pocket is real stinky. It's
all about the hanky.
It's all.
No.
Who said hanky? Not the hanky and not the panky, Jermaine.
Not the panky.
And not the panky.
And I don't steal, but that tie you had on the shot, the fat knot tie. Don't leave that around if we go back into the studio and have you in the show. I'm just telling you, don't leave it around. Because it might come up missing, and I don't know how that might happen.
Jermaine, I appreciate that. I'm a double Windsor guy myself. I'll never go to the little bitty knots, man. I still remember my father teaching me how to tie a double Windsor.
Yeah.
And I, double Windsor with a dimple. You always gonna get that with me. I don't know anything
double
else.
Windsor dimple and a spread collar.
And a spread collar, baby. That's what I'm saying. And now, since I'm a little COVID thick. I have to get a tag clip.
COVID thick. I like that.
Yeah, tag clip to make sure.
You're pleasingly plump, Shawn. That's all. That's all. Just pleasingly plump.
Yeah, just more of me to love. More of me to love.
Yeah. So Ashman, you said 3 years you've been single. So what gives? Because you're Mr. Social. Like I thought I was Mr. Social, but I met you, and I really learned about being social. Like you travel the world and everything else. So you're like Austin Powers.
Yeah, I stalk him on Facebook, man. He's like a celebrity.
He's everywhere.
Around town, you know.
It's funny you said it, Glenn, 'cause I learned from you.
Oh, really? Oh, here we go.
So Glenn and I worked together 10, 12 years ago.
We did.
Always at an event. Every night I got an event.
I'm empty.
I got an event. I learned from you, dude.
You know, I used to do that, but I can neither confirm nor deny I was popular then. It was just I did a lot of stuff, you know. But I retired from that now. COVID actually was great for me because I actually got to sit still and think about the things I wanted to do. So from writing, I had to write, you know, I finished the book, Faith, Failure, Success. I contributed to another book, Lessons for the Little Boy. I signed up a few authors, so we got 4 books coming out. We created a marketing company. So I did the things that I probably wanted to do or needed to do by sitting still. And, you know, I had so many people come to me like, oh, I know you're going crazy. You can't do wine crawls. We can't have our parties at House of Blues like we usually do, all of that. And I'm like, no, I'm cool. Actually, I am so cool sitting at home and just thinking for a little while or doing nothing some days. And like some Sundays is like self-care Sunday for me, which means football and nothing but football.
COVID helped me find my love for singing again. And when it first hit, you know, I started putting out these cover videos. And I put out like about 8 of them, you know, on YouTube. And really, man, I had some fun because I kind of, you know, I hadn't done a live show in about a year. And I don't get out there as much as I used to back in the day. I mean, Chicago is filled with so many great singers. You know, I would rather go listen to Tiabe or HG Soul or Joyce Hurley or somebody like that than sing myself. But, you know, sitting in here, man, just kind of finding my way back to my love for music. And shout out to my friend Melanie Vaughn, who asked me a couple of days ago, like, when are we going to get another video? You know, I guess I kind of got my feel and I'm kind of trying to find my way back to it. But that was the one thing that COVID did for me, man. It kind of reminded me that used to be my thing, you know, and as much as I love photography now and all of my passion has been into photography, there was a time, man, that, you know, even back when Glenn met me, when I met Glenn, you know, there was a time that music and singing was what I did. Nobody, you know, associated me with anything else, you know. Hey, Mel, my friend from grammar school and high school wants to know what you're eating.
She's single?
He wants to know what you're eating.
Jalapenos and hummus.
There you go, Yolanda.
But hey, Glenn, I'll answer your question from like 2 minutes ago. So, for the past 6 years, I'm on startup. You know, when you're doing a startup, you don't take a salary.
Right.
If you don't make any money, it's hard to date when you're not making any money. You can go on dates, but anything extended, it's kind of hard. Like I can take a girl to an event here and there, but after a while, they want a real date, and it's kind of.
Anybody want a real date?
So,
in other words, I need to get back in the House of Blues and have a lot of get-togethers so you can bring dates to them. Is that what you need?
let's bring it back.
Yeah. Okay.
After COVID's over, we'll do that.
After COVID, as soon as it opens, yes, definitely.
Hey, but Ash, that goes back to what we were saying earlier. You know, your whole dating potential has to do with where you're at financially, which I think is tragic sometimes. Now, if you're some kind of lazy dude who doesn't want to work and ain't never had a job, and you know, that's a different thing. But you know, for somebody like you who's entrepreneurial, you're this, you're that, you move in and out of different spaces. You know, I find it real tragic, man, that somebody like you would get passed up because of something like that. It's just
no. That's on me. That's all on me. I'm not, because I know the level I want to have with somebody, and I want to treat them right. I want to, you know, wine and dine them. And when I know I can do that for an extended period of time, I back off. That's not them. That's
but
all.
Then that begs another question. Then, have you been conditioned to think that's the major value you have?
No, not one bit.
Right, because you're a good guy. You know, we've had you on here before. I know that you're bright, you're articulate, you have a kind heart, you're educated. I've listened to you speak about a number of different things. So my buddy, man, my college roommate Andrew Jones, I'll never forget, man. One time we were walking somewhere, and I said Same thing to him. It's like, he's like, Nuke, why not? How come you aren't? He's my ship. He's like, why aren't you dating? And I said basically what you just said. And he said to me, I am disappointed that you would deny yourself somebody, or you would deny somebody all that you are because you don't like the financial position that you're in. That's what he said to me. Now, of course, we didn't peel back the whole what the expectation is on the other side, because that's a part of that dynamic too. But that's what I feel like when I say that. Like, I hate to hear, even if you're doing it yourself. I'm not saying you're being rejected because of that. Even if you're pulling back, and hear me, I'm guilty of the same thing, right? But I just find it tragic. I can see somebody else's worth much clearer than I can my own. So when I hear you say, you're pulling yourself out of the game because you can't do A, B, or C the way you want to do it, I just find it tragic because I know in the encounters I've had with you, you're more than that. You know what I'm saying? And there's much more of you that a woman would enjoy and value beyond that, right? So, and I'm not trying to make it personal. I identified with what you said in a very personal way, and that's why I'm addressing it that way.
I appreciate that. I was in India last February 19th with my parents, and my mom loves astrology. So every time we go back, we see an astrologer, and she was reading my horoscope and everything else. She was reading out loud from me and my mom. She says, "Yeah, relationships. You're not in a relationship for a while now, but because you don't want to be." And my mom goes, "Is that right?" I was like, "Mom, I'm not making you money. It's hard to." She goes, "I will give you money. Just go get money."
Right. And the world is a unique place, man. And I've learned to not knock anybody for what it is they want, whether or not it's something that I, can advocate or not. We all have the right to want what we want. That doesn't mean I don't have the right to sit back and think it's tragic.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of that too also plays a part in the type of woman that you want, or that you would like to have support you through this type of thing, because it takes something to be vulnerable, especially as an entrepreneur, right? So there are times when we on the high horse, it's steak and, well, I'm a vegetarian, but you steak and lobster, that type of lifestyle.
Yeah.
Where, we don't have to use Glenn's membership at the House of Blues, because we can go on our own. You know what I mean? Where you out there doing the thing.
Right.
And then there are times where it's like, all right, well, celery and peanut butter is dinner, or ramen noodles, or whatever. And the joy of the journey that two people can take together, and understand that no matter what comes our way, it's us. So while I'm building my business, it's us. If my business fails, it's us. When my ex, she had the opportunity to stay home and build her business. I was like, financially, I got us. I'm gonna do everything that I can, and she had the opportunity to do that. Didn't take advantage of it, and didn't value, what I brought in that relationship. And we ended up not being together. And hindsight being 2020, I guess she regrets it. I don't know. I'm not even dealing with that anymore. But it's like, man, it would have been great. And I said something to her after we broke up, and she was like, it landed differently. I heard it differently. And I was like, yo, it's not about you. It's not about me. It's about us. I never wanted it to be about you. This whole thing, it's like, it's not about what you did. It's not about what I did. It's about us. So collectively, what was the us factor? And it's the us factor that didn't make it.
Yeah,
Good.
That's that compromise I talked about earlier.
Exactly. Yeah. Go ahead. Take it away, Jay.
Yeah.
No, I was just saying that's that compromise. Another word that you used earlier on about relationships was compatibility. People think that, the entire relationship must be compatible, but I believe that compatibility is broken down into segments. So, you have to determine, how many segments do you need to be compatible in for the entire relationship to be compatible?
Yeah, Jermaine, that's very important, man. I was thinking about that exact thing a couple of days ago, man, because I was considering how you hear people say, well, they've got to be a dog person, and they've got to love to travel, and they've got to, and I go, why do you need a male version of you? Why can't you get a male version that is opposite you, that teaches you things that you would never have done or experienced and you can do the same thing for them. You know, that doesn't mean the person's going to stop you from doing the things that you love. Like I like to enjoy a good cigar, you know. But if I date a lady who is turned off by a cigar smoke and I just don't smoke around her, that doesn't mean that there's not something that she's gonna want to do that I'm not particularly into, and I have to free her up to let her go and do that. Or maybe I can teach her the joy of smoking a cigar, and she can teach me the joy of shopping for red bottoms.
But I mean, I feel like if you can't learn something from somebody, there's really no benefit to the relationship.
Need a mirror image of ourselves, and I think that we discount a lot of people. Right, Pamela? I believe chemistry is important, but I think that we think chemistry is determined by the matchability, and I don't think that that's where chemistry lies. You can be very, very different and have very different interests and have great chemistry. You just don't have similar interests. Kennery says she cannot have a creepy laugh though.
I think it's what the person wants. You know, Shawn, you brought up the thing of why can't you have somebody that's opposite of you and blah blah blah, because that ain't what I want.
I get that, but I'm saying, are we missing something by being so strict on what we want? You know what I'm saying, and not opening ourselves up. You know, why do you want that? Why is that so important? Why do you want it? And is it something that's holding you back more than you realize? It's good that you can say, I want A, B, or C, but have you really peeled it back to decide what its merit is, right? And what its origin is, and whether it's as valuable as you're making it?
But I think there's some things that you need to be compatible with. Go ahead, Mel.
No, I was going to say in my case, yes, I know what the hell I want. Like, you know what I'm saying? There are certain things where it's like, yeah, this ain't gonna work for me. This ain't gonna work for me.
Y'all need to try to talk about sex 14 times since the show has been on. I'm just gonna say that. Go ahead, Mel. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So you know, I tried the opposite thing for me, and like I like what I like, and I like people that enjoy the stuff that I like. Not that it has to be 100%. You know what I mean? I don't want the exact spitting image of myself, but I want there to be so much congruency or so many things that we like together where it's like, man, we enjoy this together. You know what I mean? Like,
can't you discover new things that you enjoy together?
You can. You absolutely can. That's what I'm saying. It doesn't have to be 100%. You know what I mean? Like I've discovered through some of my relationships, I've discovered different, even though I'm a music head, I've discovered different types of music that I didn't even know that I would like. You know what I mean? I've discovered different things like that. But then there are some things where it's like, man, this is what I really like. And if she likes these things too, then this is extra dope.
Like I've always said, I'm not very good at coming up with new ideas to let's go do this, let's go do that. I know that I'm deficient in that area. But adversely, I will go anywhere she suggests. Let's go watch midget wrestling. Okay, I'm with it. Cause I know that I haven't suggested shit. You know what I'm saying? So let's go. I will say yes to whatever you got because I know it's been 6 months since I came up with a new idea. I know that's not my gift. So yeah, let's go watch glass breaking. All right, what time? I'm with it. You know.
Yo, Shawn, I don't know if you saw this in the comments, but one of our distinguished guests, Jermaine, has to go. So if you could give your info, brother, and tell us what you have going on, where people can find you, what you got coming up next, how we can support you, so forth and so on.
Man, I'm glad to be in the cave tonight as the new kid on the block, but thank you all for this opportunity. Follow me on all social media platforms at Jermaine Lawrence Anderson or at I Am a Gentleman. Yeah, you can put my number on the screen too, because I'm single as well, so you know.
We like Ralph Tresvant. He a stone cold gentleman.
555 Jermaine. Thank you guys for this opportunity.
Hey man, we enjoyed you, brother, and hopefully we'll have you back. Thanks so much for spending some time with us.
Definitely, thank you guys.
Yeah, thanks, Jermaine.
Hey man, I want to say this, and I toiled with whether or not I wanted to be this transparent because I never want some of the things I share to be misconstrued in terms of why I'm sharing them. But I was led to share this after the exchange that Ash and I had. I think that a lot of times, man, ladies don't take seriously the residue they leave men with, that are good men and want to be good men to somebody, but they lay these qualifications out on them. And then if the men don't meet these qualifications, then suddenly they aren't of as great a value. I had to admit to myself, man, that one of the reasons that I chose to step away from dating was because I felt like if I could look down the road and see any degree of struggle for me, financially specifically, right? Just like now with my new pursuit as, full time with my photography business, I don't want anyone else to have to deal with the repercussions of it. And so that's another reason for me to stay away from that game, because every battle that I fight is just about me. I'm not like Mel. I don't have children. Right. My niece and nephew have 2 able-bodied parents. And so my valleys are just my valleys. And I think that that's tragic because I haven't been shown that somebody can rock with you in your valley.
Right. But that's just real feeling, Shawn. I avoided marriage, and I'll say avoided it because I didn't feel like I was ready to be, or I was prepared to take care of me, another person, and be able to have somebody walk into a marriage and I say, I want you to do whatever you want to do. And a great example was when my mom got married to my stepdad, and he basically was like, you've been working all your life. I want you to go back to school, get your degrees. She went back, got her associates, her bachelor's, her master's, and her PhD. But she had that person to say, your work has ended now. You can really go and do and be the things that you've always wanted to be. You're a brilliant woman. Go prove it. And I want to be able to do that. I really felt like I needed to get myself to that point to be able to do it. So I think I avoided it in so many different ways. I made excuses. I ducked and dodged it. I did a lot of things, because I wanted to be positioned or I needed to achieve a certain level of comfort with myself before I invited anybody else into my life on that level.
Yeah.
So that's real. No, but men, we put pressure on ourselves. We absorb whatever relationships we're in, the person that we're with, we absorb what they're going through. We absorb a lot of how they feel, and then we put it on ourselves, and then it becomes our burden too. And if you're a good man, you do that.
And then added, and I just want to say this before I ask Mel to jump in, and then added, I have relationship experiences where the valley came and they bolted, and where their valley came and I hung in there. But when my valley came, they were like, oh, this is too much. So those things play a serious part in your psyche. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Mel and Ash, you guys got anything you want to share now? We got about 5 minutes left. They're going to kick us out. We G'd a 30-minute extra, so,
Yeah, I was going to pick up what Glenn said. I'm in the same boat, and it hit me probably about 2, 3, 4 years ago. You keep waiting for the right time. At some point, you run out of time.
Yeah.
It's like, crap, where the years go? Like, I want to get my undergrad, my master's, my MBA. I want to get like out of school debt. I want to get this, that, and the other. And just like you keep waiting for the right time, you just run out of time.
I know. Me, you, and Dennis and Tom had a conversation at dinner one time.
Avoided it. That's past tense.
Right.
So you're past it, or are you avoiding it? Present tense, or you avoided it? Marriage.
I think I avoided it, and I avoided it for what I felt was a good reason. I don't avoid it anymore. I'm not avoiding it anymore. But I avoided it for what I felt were good reasons for me personally. If I didn't feel like I was the man that I needed to be in a marriage, I didn't need to be married. And that's a personal choice. So
we can justify anything for ourselves though.
Right, exactly. Do I regret it now as I got older? Because maybe I missed the opportunity on children. There may have been people you missed out on because you didn't see yourself in the way you needed to. It was weird. It was like I'm confident in 90% of my life, but that 10% was like fucking with me really big time.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Mel, what you think?
Our super producer Raj got 21 years in the game and on the marriage side, and he says it's work.
Hard work. Yeah.
But listen, it's the same thing that I teach people when I'm teaching sales training or any type of other setting. I was like, man, being successful is hard. Being difficult is hard. Pick your heart. You know what I'm saying? Like being in a relationship is work. You know, it's hard. But being single, that can be hard too. So which one? It's the whole risk reward pendulum thing, right? So I think a lot of people are afraid to take the risk because they're like, man, you know, the hurt, the pain, the whatever that's associated on the other side. And worries are nothing more than prayers for things that you never wish to happen, right? So we're so worried about the things that we don't want to happen that we don't look towards the things that could potentially happen that would contribute to our happiness. So now it's at the point now where it's like, man, you know, will it hurt?
Don't tell me why you can't do it. Tell me why you can.
Man, tell me why you should. You know, like when I went through my last breakup from a major relationship, you know, we were together for years and lived together and everything. Like I miss my stepkids dearly. You know what I mean? Like that still pains me that I don't have them in my life. But I wrote a series of poems, and I wrote a poem called "Love Ain't Shit," and it's a dope poem too.
Yeah, we got to figure that out. The title gives us no clue about the context.
Yeah. Tell us how you really feel. You stop hiding. You got to stop hiding your feelings in your poetry.
I wrote a poem called "Love Ain't Shit." I wrote a couple of other poems too, but my friend Celeste, who's also a poet here in the Chicagoland area, she heard all of my pain in my poem. She's like, all of that is great. You know, she's like, great writing, great wordplay. You're an amazing artist. But write about the other side. Write about what you want it to be like. Write into your future. Write into, you know, all the stuff that you do want, not the stuff that has already happened or the pain that you've already felt. Now that you've got that off your chest, let me hear what you do want, even though you don't have it right now.
Yeah. And but as an artist, I know you had to write that piece first.
Yeah, and she knew that too. I mean, she's a poet. You know what I'm saying? She knew that too. But then birthed one of the poems that I did. I don't know how many weeks ago, was one of the love poems that I did where everybody's like, oh, that's so great. But I had the pendulum, you know, I had the risk, you know, I had the potential reward that I didn't get, but I took a big risk. And I think it was in The Patriot or one of those Mel Gibson movies where he's in the woods with his sons and the British are coming or whatever, and he gives them the musket and he's like, remember what I told you? He was like, aim big, miss big. Like, don't take the little shot, aim big, miss big, go for it. You know,
and you should dream the same way.
Man, and you got to do that in relationships though. The challenge is that your heart can get hurt in the meantime, but if it doesn't, the reward is so great.
Yeah. You gotta, here's the thing though, man. Every time you risk it, if you risk it and you're wrong, for me, it takes a little longer for me to get over it. You know, it would be different if I was a dude out here just trying to get in somebody's pants, you know. Yeah. But for every time that I have legitimately pursued someone and then had to walk away with those wounds, it has taken me longer to heal and be able to get back, you know, on that proverbial bike again.
That's a big difference between men and women. Women heal, men feel. We feel everything and we keep feeling it and we feel it with the next person and everything else. Women will heal from whatever relationship hurt them, no matter what a man did to them. They will heal and move on and be able to go to that next person and give their heart to them.
Emily, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. No, go ahead.
I was going to say, Emily asked, is the risk factor a safety net? And I think what she's asking is are using the risk factor to lean on? It's just something that we're using as a safety net because we don't want to jump. And I think it absolutely is. I mean, it certainly could be. You know, we can, just like Mel said earlier, you know, we can justify whatever the hell we want to justify. You know, in our own mind, we can give ourselves the reasons that we need to do or not do something and go to sleep at peace at night. That doesn't mean that it's logical or it makes sense. But if it works for us, it gives us the peace we need to do or not do any particular thing.
Right. We're getting the curtain yanked on us, fellas. Love ain't shit.
You know what you did.
Roger's wrapping us up. Our producers are wrapping us up, guys.
Yeah. Hey, man, thank the production team for indulging us, man, and letting us get another 30 in because we weren't in, last week, man. So thank you guys for doing that. We certainly want to thank everybody at NDTV as well as G Rose and 220 Communications. Want to thank our man Ash for coming in and hanging out with us again. Certainly one of the regulars, one of the knuckleheads, the Three Stooges, Mel, the total gent, the gifted one, sharing all of his gifts and insight and knowledge. We certainly appreciate you, brother.
Make sure, real quick, y'all, make sure y'all follow me on Instagram at the Total Gent, because I'm gonna have all the release information for the new spoken word album, Truth and Tragedy, coming out really, really soon.
You got it right there. You got it from his mouth to your ears.
Yeah, an LAD.
Say it again,
what, bro? What'd you say, Ash?
Ashman Lad, Instagram and Twitter.
That's such a cool name, man. Ashvin. That's such a cool name, man. Glenn, man, thank you so much for all that you do on the show and behind the scenes and up front. You do everything. You know, you do so much behind the scenes, and then you give us your time in front of the camera, man, and you play such an important part, man. So if we haven't said thank you, I just want to say from me to you, thank you for that and our many years of friendship. I'm glad that I'm associated with you. And then based on the conversation we had recently, we might be doing something else together on a different level. So I'm excited about that. I don't need to say nothing about myself. I'm just glad to be here and to hang out with these powerhouses. So until next week, we hope you guys miss us until next Saturday night at 9. And it's been The Cave. We'll catch you next time.
Camped out at home for COVID? Join us, Indie TV, where you will see the talk shows, movies, drama, action, and comedy. Be the first and see it first. Sign up now for free at Indie TV.